What is your did it before it was cool thing? I was a big effing nerd and gamer in the late 80s and 90s. What's funny is in 2000 I went to an EverQuest Guild meetup in Toronto and Customs was incredulous. You're coming to another country to meet people you met in a video game online? Asked like 10 times in different ways. Then in 2008ish I went to Toronto again for then wow, meetup. Why are you coming to Canada? World of Warcraft Guild meetup. How long are you staying? A week. Enjoy your visit. I read The Martian back when it was just a text file on some backwater website. Now that is interesting. How did that happen? Andy Weir started as a fanfic writer. Before The Martian got bought and published, he put it on his website to share. Hijacking this to say that if y'all have the chance, check his short story The Egg. I had a fidget spinner on my desk for about 6 months before they blew up. At that time they weren't being mass-produced at all. You pretty much got them 3D printed or laser cut from acrylic. I thought they were neat and sent them to my dad and brothers for Christmas. I still have my first one on my desk. It's laser cut neon yellow acrylic. Saw Kendrick Lamar in a college gym for $5 in 2011 laughing out loud. Edit, just found the flyer, it was $15. I've swindled you all. My ex and I were in our local record store in early 2012, and they announced anyone here for the Kendrick Lamar in store, it will begin in 30 minutes. We were like, okay, who's that? Bought our stuff and left. Summer 2013 we were paying to see him at a big venue with 8,000 other people. Geocaching. My friends and I were doing it with a Palm 3 with a GPS attachment back in 2000. Bought Bitcoin in late 2010. Was on a Malaysian private server for an old game I used to love, called Risk Your Life, Roll. This server has a real money mall and of course I am dumb enough to want to pay to win. So I go on their site, and they don't take normal credit card or PayPal, but they offer some weird crap called Bitcoin. So I go through the steps to buy it, spend around $100 used for around 1,000 Bitcoin. Spent 600 of the Bitcoin on some ring/a sword/an amulet and an armor. And 400 sat on my wallet until I sold most of it in 2017 for an absolutely massive profit. Still holding a few and changed my entire life. Finally an effing Bitcoin happy story, so many peeps in here who spent it all on BS. Oh, and also congrats and F you. Holy F. That would have been $65 million a few weeks back. From $100. Unreal. These sorts of stories really highlight for me how utterly bullcrap and made up money is. I needed an invite code to make my Gmail account. I needed an edu account to have Facebook. My college had a bunch of forums and a vote to decide if we were going to register with Facebook so students could get accounts. This was like 2005 or early 2006. Back when 1 gigabyte of space in an email account was life-changing. Back when look at all the room for activities meant look at all the storage for porn. Man, kids these days just don't understand why you used to have porn folders. In the 28K days you could click on a picture, jerk it, finish, regret your life choices, overcome depression, take your dog for a walk, finish a degree, marry and have a family with your own kids who also looked at porn, before the image loaded just to the titty part. I don't think I saw a vagina till at least the DSL era. When I was a young kid, my dad brought home a Fairchild gaming system, and I got addicted to playing video games like Pong and Breakout on my home television. This would have been 1976. During that time I was in college. At a party one night someone turned on Pong on the TV. The room got quiet as we all watched two people play the game, fascinated by it. Sounds about right. The very idea that you could manually control the pixels on your television was mind-blowing. We didn't call them pixels back then. We just called them pongs and pings. I ordered Nirvana's Bleach on cassette before Nevermind came out. Saw in a magazine that they were supporting Sonic Youth, and Daydream Nation was my favorite album at the time, So that was enough of an endorsement for me. I was the coolest 14-year-old in New Zealand for, 2 months. Then Smells Like Teen Spirit came out, and I spent the rest of my teenage years declaring that I liked them before they were cool. Nobody cared. And I still miss Kurt. Edit. I was also the first person in my hometown to know about Wu-Tang Clan. I had to order the cassette from the US. Probably had to dub 20 copies from it for all the other kids at school. Man, I wish I was still that hip skeptical. Deleted my Facebook due to privacy concerns. In 2004. That was around the point Mark boasted about reading everyone's messages, calling people who trusted him dumb Fs. I don't mean to brag, but I bought the Popeyes chicken sandwich like a week or so before it exploded in popularity and people started killing themselves for it. Big Chungus was my profile pic for years before it became a meme. Storage unit auctions. Before 2010, when the Storage Wars show first started, you could find auctions with a few bidders, mainly pawn shop guys, but find smaller ones on the cheap for furniture, especially during my cheap college years. Show up, place a bid for $20, get a couple end tables, bed and chair. Thanks to that show, everyone thinks they'll hit the jackpot, as if people who default on their units all leave behind 1940s memorabilia or something. Bids skyrocketed beyond comprehension on or around 2011, it just hasn't been worth it since then. Most the stuff is junk, people. The TV shows are fixed and edited. It's not worth it thinking something is always hidden. People with valuables many times put that in a safe deposit box, not a storage shed unit. I feel bad for the college kids who not only can't get decent apartment rent levels, but also can't get furniture on the cheap from storage sheds like I used to, simply because of the false expectations from a fixed TV show. I know a guy that used to own a storage complex. That damn show was a thorn in his side. He'd have people showing up demanding to know when his next auction was. He said prior to that, whenever he'd announce an auction, the same 4 to 5 guys would show up, they all knew each other, and they basically had a gentleman's agreement to each go home with the unit as cheaply as possible, without running up the bids. After the show, it was in crap show. Tons of people showing up, driving him nuts. I think because he didn't care as much about the money. This was a side business for him, and it went from being something that lasted an hour or so and quickly emptied out non-paying units that he could rent out again to a long drawn-out process that involved dealing with people that had no idea what they were doing and killing an entire day. Plus, he was legally only allowed to keep the amount of the back rent. If a unit sold for more, he'd have to send the extra money to the original renter. So what I'm hearing you say is I should rent a locker, fill it with empty boxes, stop paying, get a fat check from the storage place. Empty boxes. Empty boxes that say things like baseball cards on them. I read the Infinity Gauntlet comics when they first came out and had Thanos and the Silver Surfer on my birthday cake back in 1993. I read the Avengers, edit, it was the Ultimates, but it was the same characters basically, graphic novel, so when Samuel L. Jackson showed up at the end of Iron Man, my eyes just about popped out of my head. For the uninitiated, Nick Fury says that when they make a movie about the Avengers, he will be played by Mr. SLJ. Web link. Not really a cool thing, but back in the 80s I worked at a resort where we paid ridiculous amounts for things like toilet paper, paper towels, and other consumables to be delivered. The newly opened Sam's Club had way better prices, but we didn't have big enough vehicles, or the time, to go pick supplies up on a regular basis. So I just walked up to the manager and told him things like we spend $13,000 a year on toilet paper and other details and how it would be nice if they delivered. He thought about it, crunched some numbers, and a few days later he called us and said they would do it. The manager later told us he got all kinds of kudos from his management for thinking out of the box and that they were going to start offering this service in other locations. So yeah, I did that. I'm trying to reconcile a $13,000 toilet paper budget with a $0 truck budget. How many people do you think wipe their butt with a truck? I've been streaming movies since 1999. I bet you download Cars. The one with Owen Wilson? Whoa, oh, oh. Bitcoin mining in 2014 but sold it to buy a phone case. Bitcoin is banned topic at my parents' place. Dad used to pay for a VPN service with 2 Bitcoins a month back when it was worth 0.48 or so used. The thing is though, if people like your dad weren't using BTC back then it would never have been worth what it is now. Yeah, I paid someone 12 Bitcoin for a Minecraft skin when I was 14. $648,000. You may laugh but that man has the most expensive Minecraft skin ever. Can you say the same? Quite the achievement. I used to record with a VCR when I played Mario Bros. 2. When VCR recording came out I thought, hey, I could record whatever is on the TV, right? It worked. I was floored. I ended up watching the tape once and thought it was the coolest thing ever. This was on a huge furniture tube TV that sat on the floor and only had a few channels you selected with the dial. So, I pretty was a Twitch streamer before it was cool. The only minor difference was I didn't make millions of copies and mail them out to the masses. Minor. I used to drink from jars 20 years ago. My friends thought it was so cool to casually sip red wine from something else than a wine glass, laughing out loud. My college roommate was from Seattle. He had been to a few Macklemore shows when he was in high school. I remember when Language of My World came out, my roommate was certain that Macklemore would go from being a semi-underground PNW rapper to a household name. Later on, we had tickets to see him at a small show in Vermont. We bought the tickets a few weeks before the heist came out. I think we bought the tickets for $15 each. We bought 3 tickets and our other friend couldn't come. We ended up selling that ticket for a few $100. It paid for our gas and drinks for that weekend trip. My high school friends were effing convinced as F that local band Slipknot was going to be some big deal. They'd go watch them play in like basements and crap. I saw them play in a field once with people gathered around them in a circle. I was at a hardcore show in Atlanta in probably 2004 and My Chemical Romance was on the bill and literally everyone was just chilling/drinking in the parking lot during their set. We were in my friend's car smoking a huge joint waiting for American Nightmare to play. I was on the internet in the mid-80s. I was the only kid in high school that printed book reports and probably one of the few that even knew what a modem was. Edit: yes, the internet existed before the www. No, the www is not the internet. Yes, there were also BBC. I ran one. No, I'm not confused. My mother was a librarian at a state college, so I used her access privileges since I was only 13 at the time I first dialed into it with a Popcom 1200 bits per second modem on an IBM XT running an 8088 processor. Rollerblading. Ahem, bear with me. I bought a pair in the US circa 1989, when the only people using them were ice hockey players doing summer training, and they were completely unheard of in Europe. Brought them back to the UK, and for a while, I was the most cutting-edge skater in town. By the time they became popular, and dare I say, cool, I'd already ditched them and moved on. And no, the hardest thing about it was not telling my dad I am gay. I remained safely in the closet. Oh, he knows. Competitive gaming. You used to be an absolute loser if you were into it, now those same kids are basically celebrities. I used to monitor Apple's App Store religiously on my iPod Touch. Every Thursday afternoon they would update it with a fresh set of curated up-and-coming games. I got Temple Run the first day they showcased it but deleted it after 10 minutes because I thought the graphics were weird. 2 weeks later everyone at my school was playing it. Played Dota. I was one of the beta testers for the original Defense of the Ancients custom map on Warcraft 3 back in 0203. Sadly, the creator, a guy named Oil, chose not to port the map to the Frozen Throne expansion when it came out, for reasons I still don't understand. Another guy named Ginsu stole the map and ported it over instead as Dota All-Stars. Today, Ginsu, not Oil, is remembered as the creator of Dota, which is a bit frustrating for us original folks. Listen to podcasts before they were podcasts. Recorded shows, just like today. Some were for online distribution, others were recorded versions of broadcasts, were put on a web server or FTP server where you could come download them. They weren't quite podcasts yet, because the idea of hooking them up with an RSS feed hadn't come out yet, not even sure if RSS had been invented yet, to be honest, so I had a script that ran as a cron job on my desktop, which would grab a directory listing at regular intervals and download anything I didn't already have. Most of them were MP3, of course, but at least one was real audio. I was uncool before being uncool was cool. That's cool. Eating blocks of cheese, without cutting it, not cool yet, but I have hope. Edit 2, punctuation. Thanks for all the awards, fellow cheese enthusiasts. Don't worry, you're cool in my book. Watching Bob Ross. Literally the only channel that was decent in my house was PBS. As soon as I came home from school it was on. Quarantining. My whole office got sick around January 2020. My brother was flying in with my 2 baby nephews and I was determined to see them. I worked at a long-term care pharmacy at the time, so I went to the pharmacy side and wore a mask. It was like a cold or the flu, but a lot of coughing that lasted almost 3 weeks. Some of the heavier people complained of shortness of breath. Except me, of course. The wuss/paranoid/dumbass who's wearing a medical mask just because we have a cough. Looking back, I guessed I missed out on some sweet antibodies, but oh well, I won. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.